Welcome to 21st Sports recap and reaction for the Miami Dolphins at the Jacksonville Jaguars in their Week 2 matchup from September 20th, 2015. As these two teams met in the Battle of Florida, we'll be going over the scoring and the end of the game, and we'll also be going over the stats and giving our breakdown and analysis. But let's get started off in the first quarter. A little over 5 minutes in, Blake Bortles hit Allen Robinson for a 3-yard touchdown pass, and with the extra point by Myers, it was 7-0 Jacksonville over Miami. Then with about 7 minutes left in the first still, Andrew Franks hit a 48-yard field goal as the Dolphins put their first points on the scoreboard and cut Jacksonville's lead to 4 with the score Jaguars 7, Dolphins 3. Then with about 3.5 minutes left still in the first, Jason Myers kicked the field goal for the Jaguars, a 27-yarder, and it was back to a 7-point lead for Jacksonville with the score 10-3, Jaguars over the Dolphins, and it would remain that way after 1 quarter of play. So then in the second quarter, the Dolphins added another field goal about 10 minutes before halftime, a 41-yard kick by Franks that made it a 4-point game with the score now Jacksonville 10, Miami 6. Then with about 5 minutes left before halftime, Blake Bortles aired it out, and he found Allen Robinson for a 46-yard touchdown pass. And with the extra point by Myers, it was now an 11-point lead for the Jaguars with the score Jacksonville 17, Miami 6. Then with less than 2 minutes left before halftime, Ryan Tannehill hit Damian Williams for the Dolphins' first touchdown of the game, a 10-yard touchdown pass, and with the extra point by Franks, it was back to a 4-point game with the score now Jacksonville 17, Miami 13. Then just seconds before halftime, Jason Myers hit a 58-yard field goal for the Jaguars, and it was back to a 7-point lead now with the score Jacksonville 20, Miami 13. So that was the score going into the locker rooms at halftime. And in the third quarter, the only score in the third quarter came less than 5 minutes in when Ryan Tannehill threw his second touchdown of this game, a 5-yard touchdown pass to Jake Stoneburner. And this game was tied at 20 when Franks added the extra point. And so these two teams would trade punts back and forth. There was 13 punts between the two teams in this game, and they had a stretch of 10 punts in a row going all the way down to the closing moments as the Dolphins would go 3 and out and then give the Jaguars the ball on their own 24. And with very little time left, with about 2 minutes left to play in the game, Blake Bortles started moving the Jags down the field, first with an 18-yard pass to Marquise Lee that brought him to the 42. Then after an incomplete pass, he hit Allen Hurns for a 19-yard reception that brought the ball across midfield into the Miami 39. And then a 10-yard penalty would bring them back to midfield at the 49, as it was an offensive penalty against Marquise Lee for interference. And so then, on 1st and 20, Bortles hit Allen Hurns for a 9-yard reception. That brought the ball to the Miami 40. They handed it to TJ Yeldon. He ran for 6 yards. But then after the play, there was an unnecessary roughness call against Oliver Vernon, or Olivier Vernon as I've heard it pronounced. And so now that brought the Jaguars into the red zone with that penalty, as it was now 1st and 10 on the Miami 19. TJ Yeldon then ran for 3 yards, and Miami used their first timeout of the second half. And then TJ Yeldon ran another 6 yards to set up 3rd and 1, and Miami burned their second timeout. Bernard Pierce then got stopped for no gain, and Miami burned their final timeout. And out came Jason Myers to hit a 28-yard field goal, and that was with 40 seconds left to play as the Jaguars went up by 3 with the score Jacksonville 23, Miami 20. So now Miami would get the ball with just 40 seconds left. They had on their own 20 after a kickoff, the touchback by Myers. And so now Tannehill went to Jarvis Landry. He picked up 9 yards. Tannehill then spiked the ball, so now it's 3rd and 1 on the 29, and then an incomplete pass brought up 4th down, and another incomplete pass would turn the ball over on downs, and all that was left to do was for Blake Bortles to take a knee in the victory formation as the Jaguars get their first win of 2015 in Week 2 and are now 1-1. They are 500 as they win the Battle of Florida 23-20 over Miami, who is also now 1-1. So what an exciting game coming down to the wire. It was a defensive battle, a costly penalty there on that last drive of Jacksonville would end up potentially costing the Dolphins the game, although you cannot say that for sure because Jason Myers did hit a 58-yard field goal right before halftime. So, Myers does have the leg, and he very well may have hit the field goal regardless, even if they were backed up further. They still even had another down to bring it up. So you can't really say that penalty cost the Dolphins the game. It was really just an excellent game by the Jaguars as they played well on both sides of the ball. They were able to hold the Dolphins to just 20 points as they were doing really well on the secondary and on the ground especially. They only let up 14 yards to Lamar Miller, who only had 10 carries. And Tannehill was the Dolphins' leading rusher with 17 yards off of 3 carries. So Jacksonville shut down the run of Miami. They did let up a lot of yards in the air to Tannehill, though. 359, 2 touchdowns. He was 30 for 44. Blake Bortles was 18 for 33, 273 yards. He had 2 touchdowns in this game. TJ Yeldon, the rookie from Bama, 25 carries for 70 yards. He also had 13 yards off of 3 receptions. Of course, Allen Robinson was the big producer for the Jaguars with 6 receptions for 155 yards. He had 2 touchdowns in the game. Bortles also had 27 yards on the ground off of 2 carries to actually put him over 300 total yards in this game. Allen Hurns also had 4 receptions for 68 yards. And for the Dolphins, Matthews, 6 receptions for 115 yards for Rashad Matthews, and Jarvis Landry's 8 receptions for 110 yards. Jordan Cameron, the tight end, had 3 receptions for 62 yards. Tannehill was spreading the ball around. He got the ball to 8 different receivers in this game, well, 8 different targets, rather. And then on the kick-in, Jason Myers, 3 for 3 from field goals, including that 58-yarder right before halftime, and, of course, the game winner, the one that put him ahead for good there with less than a minute left in the 4th. He also was 2 for 2 on the extra points. And on the other side, Franks was 2 for 3 on the field goals and 2 for 2 on the extra points. And we look at the defense. Jenkins actually was the leading tackler in this game for the Dolphins. Jones had 8 tackles. Jenkins had 9 tackles. And over on the other side for the Jaguars, Posluszny had 7 tackles. And the Jaguars were getting after Tannehill. Odrick had a sack, and Brown combined for a sack with Miller. They also forced the fumble. Odrick did. And for overall in the stats with first downs, the Jaguars had 19 first downs to just 17 first downs for the Dolphins. The Dolphins did not have any first downs gained on the ground. All of their first downs came either by passes or penalties. When we look at third downs, the Dolphins were 5 for 15 on third downs, 33 conversion percentage, and the Jaguars 5 for 14, 35% converted. The Dolphins also went for it once on 4th down there at the end of the game, 0 for 1 on 4th down conversions. We look at total net yards. The Jaguars had 396 to the Dolphins 386. About as close as it gets. They're just 10 yards separated the two. The big difference, of course, was on the ground. The Jaguars 123 net yards on the ground, just 42 net yards for the Dolphins on the ground. And through the air, the Dolphins had 344 net yards as Tannehill was sacked twice for a loss of 15 total yards. And Blake Bortles was not sacked at all in this game. And so the Jaguars netted 273 yards through the air. And we look at their red zone production. The Dolphins were 100% in the red zone, 2 for 2, and the Jaguars were just 1 for 3, 33%. So actually, if the Jaguars had capitalized on all of their red zone trips, the game wouldn't have been as close as it ended up being. So the Jaguars actually, they played really hard and they really earned this victory. They had the ball 30 minutes and 8 seconds to 29 minutes and 52 seconds for the Dolphins, as these two teams were pretty evenly matched in this game, back and forth. Like I said, the Jaguars were getting the production on the ground, and they were stopping the Dolphins' running game, and they were winning that battle there in the trenches up front. And then, of course, Jason Myers comes up with a big day as he ends up getting those field goals, and he himself had 12 points on field goals and another 2 points, well, 9 points rather on field goals, another 2 points on the extra points, to total 11 points from the kicker in this game that they won by 3 points. So a really great effort by the Jaguars. It's good to see them win this game. I did not think they were going to win this game. I thought Miami would, because Miami is a really good team, but it just shows you that the Jaguars are better than people give them credit for. That's something I've been saying, that they were better than people give them credit for. Even still, I didn't think they were going to win this game. So I was definitely impressed by Jacksonville's effort and their ability to win this one at home against the Dolphins, who didn't have to travel far. I mean, they were able to go up there, at the last minute pretty much. It's not like they had to stay there all week or anything. So I thought Jacksonville, and Blake Bortles, did a good job protecting the ball. And also I thought it was good how they bounced back after that loss last week. And to get this win in September is big for Jacksonville, as they've struggled the last couple years to get wins early in the season. So this is definitely a good sign for all the fans of the Jaguars. And I wouldn't really worry too much for the Miami fans, as the Jaguars are a much more talented team than people give them credit for. They have a lot of young talent, especially on their defense, and they have some veteran leadership as well. And they're very talented on offense too. They got a lot of young players on that offensive side of the ball too. So it was good to see the Jags get a win in September. The final score, 23-20. Let me know what you think in the comments section below. Definitely interested to read your thoughts and opinions. Thank you very much for listening. It is greatly appreciated. I hope you're having a good day and had a great weekend and enjoyed all the sports.